Hello again, everybody. It's Scott Casper for Takedown Wrestling. We continue our journey around the country covering the sport of wrestling. This one brought to you by Adidas. Let's stop, this time in Cedar Rapids, where we find Joey Slaton sitting in front of his computer. Joey Slaton, how are you?
Good. How are you, Scott?
I'm good, man. It's good to talk to you. Let's bring everybody up to date. Once a Virginia Tech Hokie back in 05-06 for then Coach Tom Brands, the head coach at Virginia Tech. You made the move along with a couple other guys back to the Midwest to the University of Iowa to become a Hawkeye, where you were from 07 to 10. You started out your collegiate career at 33, moved on and finished up at 41. You made All-American status in 2008. At the time, the room became a bit loaded when you got to Iowa. There were some certain challenges that you had to face. One of them was living up to your legend, what you had become in the world, the sports world. Was there any additional pressure to be Joey Slaton or to be that guy once you threw on the Hawkeye singlet?
I don't think so. I mean, I built myself to wrestle for the Hawks my whole life, and then I didn't end up going there. So, I ended up going to Tom, and he was the best fit for me. He was going to get me to where I needed to be, and I ended up going to Iowa at the end anyway. So it was bittersweet, But it's tough to wrestle in a Hawkeye singlet with them fans, putting the pressure on you when you're in that arena, and I loved it.
And that's what you're teaching now, I think. I want to catch everybody up on what you've been doing. There's a lot of folks that wanted to see you continue on in freestyle, and sometimes wrestlers, specifically wrestlers who have been wrestling a good majority of their life, have to stop and take a breath. You graduate college, and take us from there.
I graduated college, then I went to Northern Iowa with Doug. It would have been Doug Schwab's first year at Northern Iowa. I was the strength and conditioning coach there. And then after that season, so it would have been 2010, 2011 season, I went back to Iowa City to the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, and I trained there for a year and a half. And then I was up at 45, and really I was a 32-pounder, and I think I was more little burnout on cutting weight, and the 5 years of the mentally grueling process I went through it with Brands, at the University of Iowa and Virginia Tech. And so then after that year and a half at the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, I took a break, and now I'm back at the university, coaching kids, to get where they want to go.
Is it fun for you transferring over that knowledge, hands-on and even mental, the mental edge of the game? Is it fun for you to do that? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I love it. It's good to take my experiences and the regrets that I have today and share it with them guys, and hopefully they see that stuff's real and that's real life stuff.
Well, that is real life stuff, and they're going to believe. By the way, good job completely ruining a beautiful white sheet. I'm not sure why you needed to use an entire white sheet, but folks, Joey Slaton is engaged.
Yep.
She said yes. Have you guys set a date yet?
I haven't. I told her I want nothing to do with it. I just want to show up and say yes.
So typical of a wrestler.
But I told her it's going to have to work around wrestling season since all my buddies are wrestlers,
Right.
Some of them are still competing and coaching. So
that's only fair, right? So did any of the kids in the Eastern Iowa Wrestling Club, did they know before she did? Or did they know what you were going to do?
Maybe one knew.
Yeah.
In my club. A couple parents knew in my club that I'm close with.
What was their guidance? What did they offer you as far as guidance goes?
They didn't offer me any guidance. They just said, "Hey, congratulations! We're so happy for you. Let us know if you need anything." So they were behind me.
Will it be a black and gold wedding?
I'm sure it will be. She's black and gold just like me. Couldn't have it any other way.
And her name is JC.
JC, yep.
JC Martin. And how did you meet JC?
I actually met her on the internet, social media, and then what's weird about it is her family, her uncle's Bob Elick. I don't know
Yeah,
if you heard of that name,
absolutely.
from Belle Plaine, and I'm surprised our paths hasn't crossed before then. We just bought a farm in like 3 years ago in Luzerne, small town just east of Belle Plaine, and they live in. She grew up and lived in Luzerne, so it was kind of funny when we met, and the mutual friends that we have that our paths hadn't crossed sooner.
That is funny, but at the same time, destiny got in the way and made it real.
Yep.
I think that's the cool part. Kind of taking us off our conversational track here, but for the right reasons. You know, what we're trying to do is basically catch up with Joe Slaton, and Joey's been one of those kids from Iowa that everybody had chosen to follow. Heck, I remember a year that just set you on fire. For a lot of folks, if you recall, you beat Iowa State's Nick Fanthorpe. You
Yep.
beat Illinois' Jimmy Kennedy, and look at Jimmy Kennedy's doing now internationally. You beat Franklin Gomez of Michigan State. You've had some outstanding victories. Are there any victories in your mind that stand out amongst all of them that you really go, you know what, that was me on my game on that night? That was it.
Probably one of the ones I remember is the finals of Midlands when I wrestled Franklin. That's the first time I wrestled Gomez. I just felt good, and I was hitting attacks, and moving. I was moving him to get to my attacks, and I just felt good. And other than that, it's hard to remember the victory sometimes when you got some losses that you know don't sit well with me.
So when you say you were moving Franklin, and I remember this because we were broadcasting it, and it seemed as if you had the physical ability to put him where you wanted him, and then mastering the skill of takedowns and taking top. I thought it was one of those matches that was kind of magical. It certainly didn't go Franklin's way. He's a better wrestler than he showed on that in that match, but it allowed you to claim a Midlands championship.
Yep.
Okay, so it was one of those years and one of those events. The reason I ask you about that is because that happened to be a series in that particular year that really in my mind fully situated you in my mind as one of the great Hawkeyes. You really had it going on. I think Brand said it best. He perhaps said it to Andy Hamilton in print when Andy was with the Iowa City Press Citizen. He said. I'd be real surprised if Joe Slaton was intimidated by anybody. You put King Kong Bundy, not King Kong Bundy, but you put King Kong on the mat, a 50-foot gorilla, Tyrannosaurus Rex out there. I don't think he's going to be intimidated by much. He said. There's some things that Tom says that are rather fun.
Yep.
But
Sure.
that one, and I seldom quote Hamilton, but I thought that was kind of a fun quote. We're talking with Joey Slaton, 28 years old now. His life still involves wrestling. Now he's passing on what he knows, what he's learned to the youth of Iowa in the Eastern. I'm going to want to make sure I get it right, Joe. It's the Eastern. I got it right here. It's the Eastern Iowa Wrestling Club. And folks, you can find it online, easterniowawrestling.com. One of the great things about this is the partnership that you put together in Eastern Iowa Wrestling Club. Can you talk to us about your partners?
Coach Terry Brands, and then Coach James Kelly's from East Coast. So I mean, we work well together, and it went well last year. This is going to be the third year. Last year was my first year, their second year, and last year, I mean, we're going in the right direction. We're heading in the right direction, and we still got things to tighten up and things to change. That'll never end, but we're headed down a good road.
Yeah, the two ends of the spectrum in the form of other coaches you work with. Terry Brands, who's many times quiet, introspective, has a very strong faith. And then on the other end, you have Jim Kelly. And Jim looks like, Dr. James Kelly is his alter ego. And many times it looked like he's going to stop and rip your head off.
Yeah.
But he's exactly the opposite, isn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
He's a
But
good guy.
I mean, it works well. Works well. I love it.
All right, so when you're not coaching, when you're not getting engaged, when you're not traveling back to meet her family or going out doing a clinic in Maryland, or because you're still doing clinics, aren't you?
Yeah, I do 4 or 5 clinics a year, maybe. I don't know. I've done the same clinics that I've done the last 3 or 4 or 5 years this year, so I didn't pick anything new up.
Are you do you enjoy that process of doing clinics? Do you enjoy traveling out? And
I do. It's good, to get out of the state and teach other kids, and even in the state, I do camps in the state too. But it sucks when you're on the road for, I went from Fargo training camp to Fargo, left Fargo, went to Rapid City, South Dakota, left Rapid City, went to Cresco, Iowa, came home for 4 days, went to Boston. So I was on the road, and that's what makes it tough. And the older I get, the more I want to be home, so. But it's fun.
If you're home, you wouldn't get any free T-shirts.
Yeah, I know.
So you get the whole wardrobe taken care of there for a while, right?
I do.
Is the T-shirt collection the bane of every wrestler? In other words, it seems like we have a collection of 1,000 or 2,000 T-shirts. Some are favorites, but man, I tell you what, we got a lot of T-shirts.
Yeah, I seem to wear the same 20 T-shirts. Not the, I got 3,000 T-shirts and I wear the same 20.
I rotate. I do. I absolutely do until I get down to the bottom. Then I move the stack back and we start all over again. People always say, "Is that a new T-shirt?" No, I wore it 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Joe Slaton, graduated from Iowa, give you the opportunity, of course, to be, I think, one of the chosen few out there. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I do. I mean, University of Iowa I loved it. And then they set you up for the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, which has got a good thing going right now. So
I just sent my check in.
Good.
Yeah. It was a handwritten note from Tom Brands on there that said, "I know you probably won't mind renewing your membership, so we went ahead and sent you a statement." So I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, how are you going to turn that? That's called the assumptive close.
That's Tom Brands right there. Good
Yeah,
guy.
it is, isn't it? It's nice that he put love on there. Love Tom, but
Yeah.
at the same time, love you too, Tom. Okay, so while we love to coach, we love to wrestle, we like to do camps, we still got to make a primary living. And your father has been an electrician most of his life. You've worked around your dad's company for a long time growing up. You've been bit. You understand what it means to be bit in electrical terms. You are now in the process of doing what to become an electrician?
I actually start school. I go to the apprenticeship training school here in Cedar Rapids, and I start next Friday, and it's once a week, and it runs just like the school year, like a high school year.
So once a week, and then you get tested out on a quarterly basis? Because an apprenticeship doesn't last just like 6 months.
No, this is 5 years.
It's a 5-year apprenticeship.
Yep. So I'll get tested, every month, and then I'll get one test at the end of each year, and then one final test at the end of my 5th year.
And so should you be able to pass out of an apprenticeship, then you become a journeyman?
Yep.
Is there anything above the journeyman status?
I think there's like a master electrician.
Yeah.
Which I think that's a little bit harder to get.
Yeah, I would think so. No, your father's been doing it a long time, and you've seen enough of what he does. People are either afraid of electric or afraid to do electric work, even if the power is turned off. You tell me you have a healthy fear.
I do. It's something you gotta respect, and being bit, like the time I got bit, and it was not just by 110, it was 220. It gives you that respect. You take the time, you slow down, and I like to just go, go, go. And sometimes you got to slow down and think about what you're doing and what you're touching, so it gives you that respect when you get bit.
When every time I work with an electrician, he's constantly taking the red and white pen out, and
Yep.
he's dabbing lines, making sure that
Yep.
there's no power in there, nothing remaining. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
For sure.
When using your expertise, are you thinking about becoming an electrician rather, that works on commercial or residential, both, or whatever the job is?
Basically, we do it all. So whatever the job is, whatever my dad says, hey, we need to get this done today, I'm doing it.
So you're at a farm, maybe you're working in some guy's barn or dairy barn, or stringing lights, or running new cable, rewiring a house, whatever it is, you guys do it.
Yep.
Okay.
Everything. So
You went all the way through college and wrestled your tail off, and now you're going to be an electrician.
yep.
Okay. Does that mean you got to be a member of a union?
Yes, this is a union. So
If there's something about your collegiate career, perhaps that was never made public and people would be surprised to learn about Joey Slaton, what would it be?
I struggled in school.
You struggled in school.
Not as struggling because I'm not have it up here, but I was a kid. I thought I could get away with stuff I didn't get away with. Going to class. Go to class. It's easy, right?
You think?
When you're 20 years old or 18, 19, 21, you think it don't matter, Does it matter? Yeah, it matters. It mattered to me. It would have changed. It would have changed my senior year for sure, So, school. And some people know that, that are
Well, some
close to
people
them.
do. So your recommendation to kids, even though you're not that far away from being one of those guys, what would you tell them?
Say that again?
The kids that are just now in high school, thinking they're going to have an easy ride of it
Oh.
in college, are just going to go, they're going to wrestle, they're going to go to school once in a while or whatever. What do you tell these guys?
I'd say one affects the other. If you're doing good in school and you're doing what you need to do in school, you're probably doing what you need to do in the wrestling room, in the wrestling world. They go hand in hand, So when I was struggling in my school, or my grades weren't there because I maybe wasn't attending class or whatever, my wrestling was struggling.
Really?
Go hand in hand.
Did it ever take away from your mental edge on the mat when you weren't when you knew you had skipped something, or when you knew you had done wrong and ignored a test or something?
I think it hurt me in the practice room
Really?
on days because some days you can't have the best workout every day, every single day. You're not going to go on there and kick someone's tail. Okay, but that is the goal, but you're not going to do that. And I could tell my up and down, I was roller coasting, plus my weight maybe had a little bit to do with that too. Certain years, but.
So it's almost as if they're hiring you to do a job. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah,
Of a college athlete. I'm not even going to get into the question of should college athletes be paid, because I think it's a silly one.
Me too.
But okay, so there you go. I asked and answered. But it seems to me that you guys are getting paid. You're getting room and board to a degree, books or whatever. You're invited to be a participant or a player on a team with goals of titles, championships, leading the way academically, being All-Americans. And then on top of that, you get to be a part of the history once you leave. You've chosen to stay around and watch the program continue to grow. The Hawkeye Wrestling Club right now is doing phenomenally well. And you've got reasons for that. You've got Brent Metcalf, for goodness sakes. You've got Tony Ramos. Those two guys right now, if there's anybody that's on fire, I'd say those two guys are on fire. Is it fun to watch them?
Definitely, especially because I had been around those two guys, particularly Metcalf, and then Ramos was there for 3-4 years, and when Ramos came into the room, I don't know if you remember this, there was an article, he's a senior in high school, there's an article, and he's calling out everyone in our room before he even got to the room. He's calling out Zadok, me, Metcalf, all the lightweights, Terry Brands, Tom Brands, he's calling out everyone. And now to see him doing this, I mean, that's his attitude. He don't care. And I like that about him. Everyone should learn that. He's bulletproof.
Yeah, he is 10 foot tall and bulletproof, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he sees himself as a giant killer.
Yep.
And hasn't he grown well into those shoes?
For sure. I mean, he already had the mentality. He just needed some molding.
Where do you think that comes from in an athlete like you or an athlete like him? Does it come from different places? Head and heart don't always, respond to what the body's able to give. But where do you think that attitude that you had, and I would assume it's still there. Your desire to win is probably just in different places. His happens to still be on the mat. So where does that attitude to win come from?
I don't know. It's just something that I don't know if it's your parents or maybe it's genetic. I don't know. It could be, but it's something that I have in me. You can see it in Tony. You can see it in Metcalf. I mean, a lot of guys in the Iowa room, but also it's what motivates them guys. What motivates Brent Metcalf? What motivates Tony Ramos, Matt McDonough? Okay, they have an internal drive that motivates them to train like madmen and do what it takes to win.
And there are certain buttons, and that's being a good coach is knowing how to push those buttons, when to push those buttons, to help that young man like you, for example, when you were competitive. They would push those buttons, helping you go through that wall, encouraging you to go through that wall, not just build a wall, make sure it's dry and hard, but to get through that wall. You can do that. They know you can. Otherwise, they never would have recruited you, right?
You're right.
Always wanting to be a Hawkeye is a lofty goal. We hear that every once in a while when a kid 7 years old, where are you going to go to college? You'll ask him. And he says, I'm going to go to Iowa. And 10 years later, there he is at Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
That's a kid with a motivated, an ability to look ahead, far ahead. Not every kid has that sharpness. But you're one of those that did. Obviously, Ramos and Metcalf and those guys. Take a look at Kyle Dake. Take a look at David Taylor, and tell me what you see. If you close your mind's eye, what do you see when you see David Taylor?
I see the same thing as Brent Metcalf. Guy's motivated, and you know what? I like David Taylor. I'm Hawkeye, black and gold at heart, and I bleed it, but I like David Taylor. He's good for our sport. Kyle Dake, he's good for our sport. They go out there and they flat out hustle. They go out. It's a war when they step out on that mat, and I love that. That's what fans want to see. Fans don't want to see a 1-1 referee's going to decide the decision or 1-0. Fans want to see David Taylor and Jordan Burroughs duke it out like they did their last two meetings. That's fun. That's fun for me. That's fun for any Joe Blow who hasn't seen wrestling.
Is that why the wrestling-offs are so special? Is because it really is it doesn't count, but it counts type of atmosphere. And there are fans there of particular wrestlers. It's pretty close. But, man, I love the wrestle-offs, specifically at Iowa, when there are spots that are kind of up in the air or questionable. And even when they're not questionable, coaches still make the guys wrestle as if they were. And I really like that atmosphere. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, the wrestle-offs, you just go out there and compete. It's no different than any other day, and it's your job to go out there and perform, whether it's in Carver Hawkeye Arena or it's in the Dan Gable wrestling room. You got to go out there and compete either way. And
you got to go out and be the man.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, wrestle-offs could or could not matter. That's not the deciding factor. You go out there, and if you're doing your job, if Brands puts me out there and I'm doing my job, is he going to sit me? Probably not. But I'm not Tom Brands. I'm not, he's probably not going to sit me because I'm doing my job. I'm doing my job in the classroom, nutritionally, weight-wise, and then I'm winning. I'm putting on a dominating performance. I'm not winning by 1 point, you know? People want to see guys that win by 15 points, not by 1 point.
We're talking with the coach of Eastern Iowa Wrestling, Joe Slaton, former Iowa Hawkeye, graduate of John F. Kennedy High School, and of course, the University of Iowa. There was a time when he was part of one of the greatest dramas that has played out in this sport, and that is you were one of a couple guys that went to Virginia Tech, followed Coach Tom Brands there. We're told that perhaps if things did not work out there, you would be allowed to leave. And then in the end, they didn't allow you guys to leave. It was a battle. Were you disappointed in the athletic department of Virginia Tech, and perhaps, as you all have said, misrepresenting the truth?
Yeah, but I was then, but now I look back on it and I'm like, that's life. They didn't care about me. They don't care about me. They care about money and their university, you know. So it played out like it played out, and I went on with life, and you know, that's just what they did to us is life, you know. That's real life stuff.
It is real life stuff. Does that make it any easier knowing that now?
I mean, there's nothing I could have done about it. So, I mean, you can control what you could control. Well, I couldn't control that the university told us one thing, but then they did the complete opposite thing, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. You know, if people do a Google search on you, it's amazing what you find. You know, in a good way. Talk to me about wrestling Joey Slaton. Excuse me. Talk to me about you, Joey Slaton, wrestling Coleman Scott, December 22nd, 2011.
In Carver?
Yeah.
I think Coleman was beating the tar out. He was beating the tar out of me. He scored, it was like 2-9 or 3-9, I believe, if I remember right. And I don't know if it was his weight management or I was just, you know, it was probably a little bit of both of his weight management, and I was just in such good shape that the more the match went on, the better I got, and the match ended up 9-8. Him winning, but I was in. I had a leg up in the air when time ran out, so it was I was close, and then you know then you fast forward to the NCAAs, and then I make it all the way to finals, and I don't even make it out of the first minute, you know, or I don't remember what exactly the time was, but roughly the first minute, and then that year's done.
Yeah.
You know, so that was tough. That was tough for me, you know, because I felt like I was right there with him. And, you know, he might disagree, but I was, from when the first time we wrestled, I wrestled him in Fargo, and he beat the tar out of me in Fargo in high school. I battled him, but he beat me up. And then I was catching him, you know. He was a lot more athletically gifted than me too, so, you know, but I worked extremely hard, and, you know, I was catching him, so that was hard for me, that finals match.
Was it? People talk about the season, that it's such a grind. It is so long, but the season truly is over in the blink of an eye, and it's the off season you've got to deal with, because you think of all that you didn't get done in the season before, what you didn't accomplish, the goals that you missed, and getting to the next season. That's when you can. I'm not going to say erase the past, but be able to affect your history again, right?
Right. I mean, the off season is where your title's won. It's where you do the work in the off season, and you truly put work instead of just showing up to the workouts and, oh, I did my workout. No, go in there and put the work in, because you know what? A lot of guys aren't doing it because they just went through the whole season, you know, and they just mentally can't take it. Take your break after NCAAs, and then you're right into lifting 3 times a week, and you're right into going in and battling in the room when you're not supposed to be. You know, you're supposed to be everyone else or your buddies are out or whoever out fishing, hunting, or whatever they like to do, and you're in the room battling. That's where your title's won in the summer.
And summer's when what you're doing now to help these kids get better. You're preparing them for Fargo. You have as many as 90 to 100 kids signed up for the program. You're seeing 40 to 50 at a time. That's got to be encouraging for you, though, to help them understand the benefit of summer, the drawbacks of not participating in summer programs, helping to get better, and I got to believe helping to get that. Through to the young student athletes has got to be a joy for you.
Yeah, for sure. And it's hard to get these younger guys and their parents to realize, hey, let's start wrestling freestyle. Let's end folk style when the state tournament's done. You get your break, your whatever you want to take break. We recommend at least a 2-week break, and then let's wrestle freestyle. Game, let's learn some, because that's really what you learn in freestyle. So you learn how to stay in position. You learn how to get out of a front headlock, and it's kind of a battle with these younger guys, because it's new, it's something new for them, and in Greco, and it's not easy, but you go get tossed on your head a couple times or get front headlock roll, you start learning, hey, let's clear a front headlock. Let's not wait for the stalemate, So, but it's good for my kids, and my older kids, I think, understand that they're getting better when they're wrestling freestyle during the summer.
Do you regret not having gone on?
As in right now?
Yeah, if sitting where you are in your chair, closing your eyes, maybe even thinking about Metcalf and what he's accomplishing in his career right now on the mat, looking at the younger Tony Ramos. Do you regret? You're still 28. You're still healthy. You're still in great shape. But at the same time, now you're getting married. You've got your career on track as far as becoming an electrician. Do you have any regrets at all?
Every day I think about where I would be or where I could be, and that's something I battle with myself, and there's a lot of other people that do that too. I mean, and I don't know, maybe you'll see me back on the mat, maybe you won't, but either way, it's something I got to live with. And I think about sometimes when I was training with them guys like Brent Metcalf. I mean, we're in the same grade. We trained against each other sometimes, and we trained right along each one another sometimes. And then Ramos, those guys are making each other better. Those Metcalf and McDonough and Ramos are making each other better with their mentalities, and then in return they're making other guys better. So that's something I think about training with them guys, and winning 3 national titles with them guys. That was fun. That was the funnest 3 years of my life, was when we're winning 3 titles. That's fun.
You banged out some points in those years, I'll tell you that. You're always a tough guy. You're hard to beat. You could be a better athlete, perhaps, as you mentioned, Coleman Scott. But when it comes down to just being a hard-nosed, keep your head down style wrestler, you just got after it, man. When watching you work another wrestler, and you could work them, watching you work another wrestler, whoever they were, you frustrated them, you overpowered them in some cases, but when you were on your game, dude, there was nobody in the country that was any better than you. You were one of the best 33 and 141 pounders in the country. Anytime you loaded up and were ready to go, I think that's the Joey Slaton I'm always going to remember as a competitor. But now as a coach, that's what we do, is we turn our attention to the effect that you're going to have on young people at the Eastern Iowa Wrestling Club. And I think that's perhaps the best part about this whole interview, this whole conversation, is the fact that you're going to be able to give back, as you already are, continue to give back to these kids, all that passion and all that knowledge that has been imparted on you. And that may be the greatest gift of all. Joey,
For sure.
I appreciate you taking the time to catch up with us today. Have we covered everything you wanted to cover? I know wrestling is coming up, and the Hawkeyes, the room is loaded. So is the room for the Panthers, the Gophers.
Yep.
The Big Ten is getting bigger by 2. Maryland and Rutgers are jumping in. I got to believe you're as excited for the season to get underway, the rooms to open anyway, and practice to start
Yep.
officially.
Yep, I'm excited to see what's going to unfold this year, and I'm gonna enjoy my about month break before I get back into every day.
What's your walking around weight right now? 148, 149?
153,
150?
155.
Dang. I can't even see below your chest, and I'm guessing, and I'm within 5. That's not bad. I can eyeball it. I still got it. Joey, it's good, man. Say hi to your dad for me, will you?
I will. I will.
Best of luck to you and everything, certainly with the club. Best to Terry Brands and the Bearded Man. You know what? You can tell him he can get a free beard trim over here in Des Moines and a beer anytime he wants it.
Alrighty. Thank you.
All right, buddy. It's good talking with you.
You too.
For Joey Slaton, I'm Scott Casper, and congratulations to J.C. Martin as well, the intended bride-to-be of one Joey Slaton.